Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing a reading wrap up for the months of May and June because I wasn't home at the end of May, so I couldn't film one, so I thought I would just combine them into one video. I have 13 books to talk about, unless I counted wrong, but I think it's 13. So let's just get started. The first book that I read was Happy Place by Emily Henry. I rated this 5 stars. I'm sure you know what it's about at this point, but in case you don't, it's this college friend group. They go on that vacation to this cottage in Maine that I think is like one of their families, and they've always gone there. And it's one last trip before this cottage is getting sold. So it's like their like last hurrah basically. And the main character is Harriet, and she gets there and her ex-fiance Win is there. None of their friends know that they broke up, so they have to like fake date again basically, so that it's not like awkward for everybody, and like they don't want to ruin the last trip for everybody. It is so hot in my room, so if I look sweaty, I'm sorry, but I'm like dying. So you have fake dating. I loved the setting, like the atmosphere of like the little cottage in Maine was so good. Very, very summery, but there's also a lot of like nostalgia and change and closing certain chapters of your life. That part like I really connected to it. Like everybody can relate to that, like having to move on from like certain parts of your life, certain people. So I loved this book. I thought it was so good. There is like some miscommunication in it, but like, and usually that does bother me, but I really didn't find it bothering me too much in this book, because like I wasn't as dedicated to the romance as I was like the rest of the book and like the friendships and everything. But yeah, overall so good. I already kind of want to reread it and like annotate it. It was very good. Okay, wait, I just realized that before Happy Place I read City of Fallen Angels, which is the 4th book in the Mortal Instruments, and I rated this 4 stars. This wasn't like one of my favorites in the series. Like I honestly don't really remember what happened, but it's also a lot shorter than all the other ones, so I don't know if maybe that's why. On that note, after Happy Place, I finished the Mortal Instruments. So I read City of Lost Souls and then City of Heavenly Fire, and I'll just group these together. I rated both of them 4 stars. I thought these were so good. These are like 2 of my favorite books in the series, and I can't really say much because it's literally the end of a series. Loved how the series ended. If you're wanting to get into a big fantasy world, the Shadowhunter universe that Cassandra Clare has created, I think is a great one. And so now that I have finished the Mortal Instruments, I will be moving on to the Infernal Devices soon, which I'm very excited about. Then I did a video where I read romance books for a week, and that's where this starts. So I read Sweet Thing by Renee Carlino, and I gave this 4 stars. I really, really enjoyed it. It's basically a romance between this coffee shop owner, Mia. She's also a pianist, and then Will, I believe his name is, who's a guitarist, and it's set in New York City. And they actually had already met on like the airplane going to New York City, and then they like happened to like meet each other again. He ends up becoming Mia's roommate, and it's just like the romance between them. But I really, really liked it, and like the music aspect of it was super fun. Like they mentioned like music that I really like, and then like they're both musicians, so it was really cute. I liked the New York setting. The one thing I did wish was that we got Will's point of view, because we only got Mia's, and sometimes I feel like I was like left in the dark a little bit. Like I think if I had Will's point of view, this would have been like even better, like could have been 4.5 stars, because he just didn't feel as developed as Mia, because we didn't get his point of view. But other than that, I really liked it, and I would definitely recommend it. Then I read The Love Wager by Lynn Painter. I love Lynn Painter. She is so good. I rated this 4 stars. I literally rate like every book 4 stars, I feel like, because most of the books I read, like I enjoy, and like 3 stars feels like wrong. Like I would give 3 stars to like a mid book, and this book was not mid. It was so good. So it's about Jack and Hallie, and they have a one-night stand at a wedding, but then they like don't plan to have contact after that, but they end up finding each other on a dating app, and then they make like a bet to see who can find love first. So they're going on all these dates, but then after the dates they like hang out and like rehash the dates and like talk about it, which is like basically them going on dates. So obviously they start to like each other, and it was just so good. He just writes like the perfect rom-coms. Like they're funny and cheesy, but like in the best way. I love them so much. But I didn't realize that this technically Mr. Wrong Number comes first, and then it's this book, which I didn't realize, and I haven't read Mr. Wrong Number, but I'll probably go back and read that at some point because I've loved everything I've read by Lynn Painter so far. Then I read When in Rome by Sarah Adams, which everyone's talking about because it's so good and so cute. I gave it, can we guess? 4 stars. Again. It's kind of like a small town romance. The main girl, Amelia, is a pop star, but she like wants a break from everything, so she's like driving away, and then her car breaks down in front of this guy's house, and it happens to be the main guy, Noah, and then she ends up like staying in his house for a while, and she's just like getting to know him and this small town and all the people in it, and it was just so fun and cute. I don't know what else to say. I really liked both Amelia and Noah, like separately, their characters. I just really liked them, and then together they were just even better. And I'm normally not a small town romance lover. Like something about it, usually I'm just like, ugh, like I just get like cringed a little bit. But this one, I didn't have that. Like I thought it was genuinely cute, and it made me want to read more small town romances, because if they're done like that, I actually really liked it. So I think I've just had the case of reading a few that put a bad taste in my mouth, you know? So that was everything I read in May. And now we move on to June. Starting off June, I was on a trip. So I didn't have like much time to read, so I wanted something like fast that would like keep my attention if I was like on the train or something. And so I read His and Hers by Alice Feeney, and I rated this 3 stars, but honestly maybe more like a 2.5. I didn't really like this book. It's a mystery thriller type book. There's a murder in this small town in England, and then you have Anna, who is a news reporter, and Jack, who is like the detective on the case. And so they're both obviously involved in this because she's reporting on it, he's investigating, but then he ends up like becoming a suspect, and there's a lot going on. But massive trigger warning for sexual assault. I think that this book, it was like, I only have bad memories. Like when I think of the book, I only think of like the worst scenes, and I just like felt so sick reading certain parts of it. And I guess that's kind of the point. It's supposed to be dark, it's supposed to be a thriller, but I just think it was like a little bit too graphic and too violent. Like, I don't know. When I was like reading it, and I was like, wow, like, because I've seen multiple people read this, but nobody has mentioned the like horrific thing that happens. I don't know. I also like, I guessed the plot twist. Like I had some suspicions and they were right. And so I wasn't surprised. I just was kind of annoyed. And then I also felt disgusted by other parts of it. So is it a bad book? No. I would just be wary of recommending it to people because I did find it to be like very disturbing at some parts. Like I just think like certain parts could have been left out or made a little bit less awful, and it would have had the same impact, but not as awful. Does that make sense? I don't know. Definitely not a favorite of mine. But let's move on. Then I read The Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels by India Holton. And this was such an interesting book. So at first I had like so much trouble getting into it because I was just so confused, because it's like historical fiction, but also kind of like fantasy. Like I don't know if I would classify it as fantasy or magical realism. I'm leaning more toward like magical realism because it's not like there's like fae or like anything like that. Basically, the Wisteria Society is like this group of like women pirates, so they're like assassins and thieves and like stuff like that, and they have like their houses, but they can like fly their houses. And so I was just very confused because I have never read anything like that. And they didn't really like explain it. All of a sudden they were just like flying a house, and I was like, did I miss something? Like, I'm really confused. But once I got into it, it was so entertaining and so fun. I literally loved it. The characters were just so funny and like witty, and there is like a romance, I want to say subplot, but it's like a pretty integral part of the story. But there is also more going on. It's not just a romance. So the main girl, Cecilia, she gets into a little romance with this other pirate, Ned, who actually has orders to kill her. So that's a fun little added thing to their relationship. It was a very unique book, and it was super entertaining. And it's actually part of a series called the Dangerous Damsels series. So that was the first one. And I would definitely consider reading some of the other ones. Never read anything quite like that. Then I read, oh, I don't think I said I rated the Wisteria Society of Lady Scoundrels 4 stars. Like I rate everything. So the next book I read was Inkheart by Cornelia Funk, which I'm a little late because most people read this when they're like 10. I'm glad that I finally read it. It has like a dark fairy tale feeling to it. But Maggie, she's like 12, I think. And it's like her and her father, and he repairs books. That's like his job. So that's also like a fun part, is that there's a lot of like book stuff in this book. Like the setting, there's like, I don't know how to explain it. So he repairs books, so there's always books around. The characters love reading. Yeah, it's very like bookish. But anyway, basically her father has this like power where he can read characters out of a book. And so he did that a long time ago, and it's like he brought some evil characters into the world. And so they're trying to figure out how to get rid of these people, like put them back in the book, or what can they do to get rid of these people. My favorite part of this book was definitely like the atmosphere and the setting. It was very dark and like bookish and stormy is how I would describe it. I don't know if that makes sense, but like it makes sense to me. And so I rated this 3.5 stars. I did like it. I just think it was a little bit drawn out, and I would have liked it a lot more had it been like that much shorter. I think a lot of stuff, like I said, it was just drawn out. But otherwise, I really liked it, and I do want to read the other books in this trilogy. The next book I read was Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This book, I gave this book 5 stars. This book made me feel things. Like, I haven't gotten this feeling from a book in like quite a while. It was so good. So good. So basically, I'll give you a little synopsis. It's historical fantasy, and there are these 2 writers, Iris and Roman, and they are rivals at like a newspaper. And so you have like that little rivalry going on. But then on the other hand, you have, so Iris's brother just got sent off to war because there's like gods that are like warring with each other again. And so they're sending people to like fight for them. That's another thing going on. And so she's writing him letters on her typewriter, but he has not answered. And so she puts her letters into her closet, and then they disappear, and she's like, that's weird. And she just assumes that like somehow they're getting to her brother. Well, then she starts receiving letters back, and she's like, I don't know who this person is because it's not her brother. And it ends up being Roman. They're anonymously writing to each other, although he knows it's her, but she doesn't know it's him. So they're writing to each other, and they're like pouring out their hearts. You know, like they're sharing things. And any book that has like letters, I eat it up. Something about letters in books, it just hits so hard. I love it. I think it's like the best way, not the best way, but like one of my favorite ways that like characters connect. And the fact that it was also like kind of anonymous, it was so good. The writing was so beautiful. The plot had me gripped. I like woke up and was excited to like go back into this book. And that is when you know that you are loving the book, when you like just can't stop thinking about it and you need to get back into it. And you know what? I need the second book immediately. I'm pretty sure it doesn't come out until next year, which is so tragic. You need to read this book, like right now. Moving on, I read Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter, which I gave 4.25 stars. Miss Lynn Painter does it again. She never misses. She literally never misses. This is like a YA romance, and our main character Liz, her like childhood crush comes back. Like he had moved away, but he moves back, and she's like, I need this man. We're gonna go to prom together. I'm going to fulfill my fantasies. He ends up like becoming kind of close friends with Wes, who is Liz's annoying neighbor that also steals her parking spot all the time. So like they kind of have like a little rivalry, and she's like, okay, I guess I have to go scheme with Wes to get Michael, who's the childhood guy, to like me. And so her and Wes start spending more time together like that. And then obviously they start to like each other. It was so cute. Each chapter starts with like a quote from a rom-com, which like I honestly haven't seen that many. But every time there's one from 10 Things I Hate About You, I was like, because I love that movie actually. But I loved both Liz and Wes. Like Liz was one of my favorite like female main characters because she was just such a unique person, and like she wasn't afraid to be different. I don't know, I really admired that about her. She was her own person, and she owned it, and she didn't care what anyone had to say. And then Wes was just like very kind and caring and funny, and so together they were just perfect. It's definitely like a cheesy book, but in the best way. It was so good. I need it to be a movie. All these TikToks now are coming up on my For You page of like the fan casting and people talking about the book, and I'm living for it. I love it. Then I read What Happens After Midnight by K.L. Walter. Is it Walter or Walter? I don't know, but you know what I mean. I rated this 4.25 stars. I loved this book so much. First of all, the cover is one of my favorite book covers that I own. I think it's so cute, and I feel like no book covers are purple. Like, I don't think I own another purple book. So that's fun. So this book is about Lily, which is my name anyway. She attends a boarding school, and it's on the coast of Rhode Island. So the setting was already like I love books that are at like a school or an academy, stuff like that. And so I love that part about this. And it was on the coast, so there's like the beach and the waves. So good. But anyway, it's her senior year, and at their school there's this person called the Jester, who basically is like in charge of the senior prank, and then they have to like enlist people to help them pull off the senior prank. And she gets an email saying that she's been chosen to help, and so she has to go do whatever this Jester wants her to do. And she finds out that the Jester is none other than her ex-boyfriend, Tag. His name is Taggart. I've never heard that name before, so that was interesting. But basically just goes through the night, like the whole night of them trying to pull off this prank. And I would say the romance is more of like almost a subplot, and it definitely does focus more on the prank itself, but I didn't mind that at all because it was so fun, like watching them like sneak around the campus and try not to get caught, and they're like running around, and it was so fun and so cute. And then you do obviously like get some romance in it too, so I just didn't think it was like the main purpose or the main like point of it. It was so cute. And then so the Jester like ends up leaving clues about their prank, and here I'm trying to find, like in the book it's like this, and it like says the clue. I don't know, whenever there's like little touches like that in a book, I just think that that is the cutest thing ever, and I love it. And there's also lots of like little Taylor Swift references, so I was just like highlighting all of them in here, and it was just a very fun time. The one thing I wish was that there would have been a map of the campus in like the front of the book or something, because I feel like that would have been really fun to be able to like visualize like where they were going around campus like throughout the night. So this was so good. I highly recommend this if you just want like a cute little YA book. It was just so fun. So those are all the books that I actually finished, but I did DNF one book in June, and that was Homecoming by Kate Morton. I got like almost 200 pages in, and it was just so boring. Like nothing was happening. It's supposed to be a mystery about like this murder that happened a long time ago, and then this girl is like uncovering stuff about it like way in the future. And there were 2 timelines, like one like from the past, like around the time of the murder, and then the future timeline. And so it was just like taking way too long to build both of the timelines up, to the point where I was 200 pages in and nothing had happened. And I was like, okay, I cannot keep doing this. Like, it was like I was torturing myself reading it. It was also just like the writing was a little too descriptive for me. Like, I'm super sad because the cover is really pretty, and then like the reviews were good, the premise sounded good, but I just couldn't get into it, and I didn't want to like force myself to read it when I wasn't enjoying it. So sadly, I did DNF this book. So that wraps up all the books that I read in May and June. I hope that you enjoyed. Let me know what your favorite book that you read in June was in the comments. I would love to know. If you want to be friends with me on Goodreads, the link will be in the description. And you can also follow my Instagram. I'm trying to be better about posting on there. I just like forget to post. Like, I take pictures of my books and then I just never post because I forget. But it's at Books with Lily, the same as my channel name. If you liked this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you don't miss new videos from me. And hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye.